Mr. Julian Kim, MD of Roboprint Asia. Julian is a global citizen. He was raised in Asia and lived in Europe, Latin America, and US. He has a BS in Aerospace Engineering from the University of Colorado and an MBA from Duke University. Julian was an investment banker for 20 years in New York, London, Hong Kong, and Seoul. He was formerly chairman and country head of Deutsche Bank Group in Korea, and he is also an author of a novel called Saints, Song of Winds. His illustrious career includes top positions in mining, biotech, and consulting for tech SMEs. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Julian Kim. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Ellie. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Well, thank you for your great introduction, making me sound better than I am, and thank you for the organizers for allowing me to make this presentation. And thanks, Philippe, for the brief introduction of the company that I represent today, Roboprint. So without further ado, let me find the presentation. And okay, well, today I'll be presenting about a very specific sector of the world of robotics, and especially in the construction industry. RP, which is short for Roboprint, is a Korean company that is based in Daegu in Korea. And I represent the international business of Roboprint. We have two international offices. We have one here in Singapore, and we have the other one in the US, in the Silicon Valley area. And let's see. First, I'm going to be talking briefly about who we are, who Roboprint is, and then number two, we're going to go briefly into some of the technology and products that RP is currently operating on, and number three, we'll talk a little bit about our global business plans. Okay, first, who we are. Yeah, Roboprint was founded in 2010, so it's not a new company, it's not a startup. It started out as an inspiration of Mr. Park, who is the founder and CEO of Roboprint, Mr. Jung-Gyu Park. And he came up with the idea after contemplating many construction workers who were exposed to a lot of dangers because they were hanging from ropes on very high surfaces. It was quite dangerous, and he came up with the idea that having a robot doing the painting instead would minimize the fatalities, not only in Korea, but probably around the world. These are some of the landmark events that, oops, sorry, I got to go back. Oh, my apologies. Okay. So 2010 is when it was established and first commercialized. Ever since then, RP has been improving the technology by making it faster, more efficient, more accurate. RP started working with the Hyundai Construction company back in 2012 with some of their projects. And 2018 is when RP decided that it was going to establish foreign offices. And recently in 2020, we have had a world first painting of a very large chimney on a thermal plant, which was over 100 meters tall. Okay. Okay, these are some of the major companies in Korea that we've worked with. Some of these names will be recognizable around the world and some not. But we have worked with a lot of government-related companies as well, local governments, public enterprises, construction companies. We are now trying to take this step, one step further by working with international companies, and hopefully with some success, we'll establish operations and businesses here in Singapore and the US and other parts of the world as well. Okay, now the technology and the products. The core technologies of RP are atypical surface recognition and Z-axis control to be able to move the nozzles in and out and up and down and recognize surfaces that are irregular so that the robot can adjust to the surface and do the efficient painting work. It also has developed and perfected a wireless remote monitoring and control technology so that the robot can operate somewhat remotely from the monitoring operator of the project. RP has also developed a sophisticated 4-color or CYMK injection control to be able to carry out a lot of intricate mural artwork. One of the impressive things that we hear commonly from the clients is that our ArtBot can paint not only simple pictures, but it can also handle with perfection very, very complex artwork. If somebody wanted to paint a 50-story building or 50-story wall with impressions of a Da Vinci or Monet or Renoir or Klimt or any other artwork you can think of, our robot would be able to do it perfectly and accurately, and we can do it faithfully, replicating the colors. Another interesting thing about our ArtBot is that it is also able to handle very complex computer graphics, 3D artwork, trick artwork. We can also handle photographs with absolute precision. So these are some of the things that the ArtBot is able to do on very large surfaces. So many of our clients, acknowledge that for small walls, for example, 1 or 2-story walls within the home in the interior, maybe just a small wall surface of a house, you probably don't require a robot to do the work, and that's probably the domain of human artists. But when it comes to very large scale structures where human artists not only struggle to do it, but is quite precarious by having to hang on ropes for weeks or months at a time, certainly the robot is much more efficient. And the fourth area that RP has developed is incorporating augmented reality into some of the mural artwork. So in Korea, what we've been able to do is that some of the mural artwork, when you download an app into your mobile phone, you can look through the camera at the mural, and the mural will start to activate 3-dimensional images and sound and music, and it's quite impressive. So I think there's a lot of future in that. I think a lot of advertisers are talking to us in Korea about the potential of this kind of technology. So these are some of the product lineups. The most common ones, the main ones, are the ArtBot that you see first, and then you see the PeaBot, which is a robot that can do single color coatings on large structures. The 100-meter chimney that I mentioned briefly in the beginning was handled by the PBot. And clearly, the PBot is much faster and more efficient than having humans spray painting on large structures. Also, the PBot operates within a self-contained box that moves up and down with the mechanism, so it is also very environmentally friendly. It will not spray bits of paint, especially during high wind conditions, all over the environment, and that, I think, is one of the advantages of being able to use a robot rather than somebody simply going up there and spray painting into the wind. We have also developed lately what's called a waterproofing robot, and the idea for this is that oftentimes, and this was especially useful for large scale factories and plants in Korea that required a lot of not just waterproofing, but painting on toxic chemicals that are harmful for humans. The robot is able to go into a confined space, or a large scale space, and to be able to do it without humans being inside the environment. So this is another technology that we think is very useful for manufacturing plants and all kinds of similar structures. We've also recently, it hasn't been perfected, but we're very close to commercializing what we call the ArtBot, which is a robot that is designed to paint signs on the road on a horizontal surface, obviously. Korea, much like any other country on the roads, you are frequently required to write information for the drivers. And so we think that this robot has a lot of promise going forward in Korea and hopefully around the world. At the bottom on the left, you see this is a robot that we've been working on for for about a year at the behest of large trailer manufacturers in the US. As you may know, in the US, these large-scale trailers crisscross the country, portraying a lot of advertising work. And the trailer companies have told us that there's quite a bit of a bottleneck in terms of the artwork that needs to be printed on these trailers. Traditionally, what they do is they print it on a very large decal or sticker, and then these trailers have to be taken to the sticker or decal printer, and then they have it stuck on the trailer, and then they have to be delivered back to the trailer manufacturer. It takes a lot of time. It's also expensive, and it's also heavy. So the trailer manufacturers and RP, we believe that by perfecting a robot that can easily paint on the advertising work rather than having to stick it on each time, I think it will result in a lot of efficiencies that meet an unmet demand in the US marketplace, perhaps in Europe as well. We are right now working on a window cleaning robot, which technologically would not be very different from the PeaBot. The picture that you see there is a wide, it's kind of like a wide PeaBot structure where you have this structure where the robot would be able to cover a wider horizontal swath along the x-axis compared to the regular PeaBot. So we think that sometime later this year or next year we're going to be able to offer these services to the clients. The floor coating robot, or the FBot, is a robot for having to paint large floor areas on plants and underpasses and other areas. And we think that this is also going to be commercialized, we think, by either the end of this year or early next year. The wall blasting robot is still at a very early phase. We don't have any photos to show you yet, but it will be designed for high-rise buildings that require wall blasting. It will also be useful for, we are getting a lot of inquiries from petrochemical plants and refineries who, as you may know, they own a very large circular chemical tank structures, which require frequent painting. And we have found out that our PeaBot is ideal for painting these large scale round structures. However, what we need to design also to accompany this is we need to be able to design a robot that can do the blasting and the testing of these structures before the paint is actually put on. So that's something else that we're working on. Here is a little bit of a few pictures of the ArtBot in action. The first photo is a project that we did in San Jose, California, by it's not a very large building, but the owner was very interested in the ArtBot, and he wanted his car repair and servicing structure to have this kind of a crayon art kind of design. And we were successfully able to do that, and it came out on the evening news in California as well. On the bottom, you see, there's a high-rise building here where we had to paint on very large images of some of the heroes of the Korean independence movement. The interesting thing about, you can't quite see it here because it's quite small, but the pixels of this mural is actually composed of Korean characters, Korean letters. So the whole mural is actually a writing about about the Korean history of the independence movement. So if you get really close to the mural, you'll see Korean. It's all the pixels are Korean letters. So this is something that the ArtBot can do efficiently and without any trouble, whereas by human hands it would be impossibly difficult. Roboprint has also done these kind of things on highway sound barriers, where Korea has a lot of sound barriers erected next to noisy highways for the comfort of residential purposes. Here you see some very large plant storage tanks. These are like this is kind of like a chemical tank, except in this case, the owner wanted artwork rather than just having it painted white or blue or in single colors. And here you see we have received quite a few inquiries from power plants in Korea and in other countries. In Korea, we are right now contemplating doing painting the outside of these power plants. But one of the interesting things we've done recently is on the inside of the more traditional coal burning electric power plants. We've painted this very large interior wall with a very very graphic and accurate picture of a beautiful forest, so that the people that work in the power plants, they feel more like they're, hopefully anyway, part of nature and in a forest rather than operating in in an unpleasant power plant. So, okay, let's see. Okay, this is we're talking a little bit about the PBot. Here you see what the PeaBot kind of looks like at its current design. It would go up and down, and then you have to move it, and then it would go up and down, and then I have to move it. We are also currently designing a PeaBot to be able to handle more efficiently wall spaces that have a lot of windows. Currently, the PeaBot is not very efficient in handling walls that have a lot of windows. So the PeaBot basically has to paint in between, and anything that's near the windows would have to be done by hand. However, currently we've been working on a prototype to be able to, for the robot to be able to do most of the painting around the windows, so that human hands would only require to do the touch-ups on each of the windows. And so we're hoping that we can hopefully commercialize that by sometime next year. It is also a request that has been conveyed to us by the Singapore BCA and HDB, who have asked us to design a robot that is good around windows.
Julian, sorry,
yeah.
It's just a 5-minute warning. Thank you so much.
Okay, sure. Okay, so I'll just go quickly. This is the PeaBot. Okay, this is again showing you what the wide PeaBot or window cleaning robot would look like. This is the FBot. The FBot basically has a this is the floor robot. It can efficiently paint floors. This is the FBot, a photo of the FBot. This is a representation of the trailer robot that I discussed before. I believe the organizers will be able to send you this presentation so you can look at it more at a leisurely pace. This is some of the tests that we're doing for the trailer robot. You can see that the graphics are actually quite descriptive. They're quite accurate. They're quite colorful as well. So we think that the robot is doing a very faithful representation of what you would otherwise have with a sticker decal on these advertisements. This is a simple graphic on the road writing robot that we are perfecting at the moment. Here is a photo of something of a test. It says Seoul, but in Korean, which is the Korean capital, as you know. Here is Seoul again. And this is a robot that comes with an extending structure, so that it can move up and down, and it can go up to 12 meters high. Conceivably, if the demand is there, we could make this even go higher. without the need of cables or lifting structures. This is again the robot that you can see. Okay, and this is a robot that is much more accurate in painting specific things on the wall. And let's see. Okay, these are some of the challenges that we faced, or the challenges in the market, and how our robot is trying to address them. Again, you can see them at your own leisurely pace after this presentation. The global business, we have a US subsidiary and a Singapore subsidiary. The US one is called Roboprint LEOD, and the Singapore is Roboprint Asia. LEOD has been created to cover most of North and South America, and Roboprint Asia is covering Europe and Asia and potentially other markets. I think the important thing here is that that apart from Roboprint doing its own business, we are very open to discussing licensing or joint venture projects in other countries. I mean, obviously, Roboprint does not intend to go into every market and set up subsidiaries. So we would prefer to be able to find good strategic partners in all parts of the world, so that we can either license or do a JV or do a combination of such. So that's it. Thank you very much. And please feel free to email me. Always happy to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julian. Thank you for that presentation. And I'd like to remind